Hey, party people. Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Eric Faber for a game of The Last Hand. The Last Hand is a standalone GM-less, no-prep role-playing game about struggling survivors working together to escape an unknown horror that slowly reveals its true nature as it pursues you, steadily overwhelming you with one overwhelming hazard after another until finally it confronts you with The Last Hand. The game uses elements of Texas Hold'em to create this really evocative and wonderful, sort of like Western-inspired horror experience that is part, mounting dread, part puzzle solving. The game rips. I had such fun playing this game. I had such a blast listening to it. I really think you're going to love it. You can pick up your own copy of the game at airborneham.itch.io, or you can check the show notes for more information. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so excited. I'm sitting down with Eric Faber. Eric, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited. I've been looking forward to today's recording all day. I think this is going to be a really fun game. And at the top of our episode, why don't you take a moment and let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about, as well as the game that we are playing this week.
All right. Well, I'm Eric Faber. I'm a game designer in the North Woods of northern Wisconsin. I have designed tabletop role-playing games such as the game we're playing today, The Last Hand, and I am one of the lead writers and guides at LARP. That is a national franchise LARP, Dystopia Rising. I am a member of the team at the Dystopia Rising Wisconsin branch, and so I do a lot of stuff there. If you're in the Chicago or Madison or Midwest area, you should check out Dystopia Rising if you're interested in horror LARPs. The Last Hand is a horror role-playing game, because I guess I have a brand. It's a standalone GM-less, no-prep RPG for 2 to 6 players. It's intended for a single session of play. It's kind of a play-to-lose game. You take on the role of struggling survivors, working together to escape an unknown horror that slowly reveals its true nature as it pursues us. We'll be hedging our bets to be the one to make it out alive during The Last Hand and see how it goes. It emulates a lot of aspects of Texas Hold'em. We take turns as the dealer leading scenes, but it's sort of a shared GMing experience. It plays kind of similar to a horror version of Fiasco, if you're familiar with Fiasco, setting up a horror that is going to hunt us down and probably give us a bad time. It's a play-to-lose game, so we're here to just see what happens to our characters and see if we make it out the other side.
I am really, really excited. The vibe is great. I love playing somebody that I know is going to suffer and die, which is a statement that I'm not going to unpack. You know what? That's not on me today, listener. That's on you to consider. So talk to me about what is it about The Last Hand that gets you excited to sit down to play? Talk to me about what you are looking forward to in today's game, as well as just what is it as the designer of the game that really, excites you about the premise and concept of The Last Hand?
Yeah, so I designed The Last Hand because I really enjoy play-to-lose horror games. Dread, 10 Candles, The Zone. These are all great games that do a lot of really cool play-to-lose style games. But the thing about story games like that is there's not a lot of mechanics going on. You roll a die, see what happens. Or in the case of Dread, my group had the problem where we're just kind of good at Jenga, so the Jenga tower never falls over, so nobody ever dies. So the Last Hand was me kind of taking the storytelling improv style games of Fiasco that I love and applying that to a little bit more gamey, a little bit more mechanically engaging mechanic using the deck of cards. You're actually looking at numbers and trying to figure out there's a little bit of mechanical game there more than just the storytelling, and that game guides the story in the play to lose horror game experience that I love from all of those other games I just listed. So that I'm really excited to share that with you and your audience. I think it's a great time, and I look forward to having my character die with you.
It's gonna be great. I'm excited for our characters to suffer a little bit, and so let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm gonna hand you the wheel, which is not in fact how cars work, but I'm gonna hand control over you. Talk us through how we're gonna make our characters and the horrible situation that we're gonna put them through.
All right, so yeah, in the last hand we do some very, very basic character creation. Which is just answering a few questions. So what we'll do, if you've got a copy of the book open in front of you, the inside cover has some example questions, so you can roll on that table. You roll a couple of dice on this D36 table, and you can, just for the sake of virtual play, just answer the questions you roll. If we were playing at a table, we could come up with our own questions, put them into a pool, and then we would deal them out randomly through the whole table. But for the sake of virtual play, you can roll your dice a couple of times on that table, or just come up with your own question that you find compelling, and answer that about your character. And we'll use those questions, the answers to those questions, to basically give us a little bit of background for our character. We'll give a name to them. We are in a Wild West setting, so the default setting for the last hand is in a small Wild West town called Paradise, Colorado. A thing off the top that I have in the book and that I like to mention whenever I do these interviews or streams or anything is I have it listed as Rule 0, but basically the Western genre historically is not great at dealing with the gruesome and horrendous things that took place in American history. The colonization of North America and the westward expansion of the United States was rife with lots of atrocities and horrendous acts of cruelty. The effects of that on the indigenous peoples and marginalized groups in this country are still lingering with us today. And one of the big things I like to say when we play the last hand is that is not acceptable in any story, even if this is in the Wild West. Even if this game is in the American West, you are not allowed to tell stories or take actions that perpetuate that kind of hate or evil. But we'll just be in this little Wild West town. It's probably in the midst of some sort of active atrocity, an active of horror event of some sort. There is an unknown horror. It's referred to as It very frequently, and that horror has kind of taken over the town in some way, and we are holed up in a safe house. So if you want to,
I'm so excited.
Roll on that table and answer yourself some questions. I'm gonna once we answer our questions, we can say them out loud.
Yeah. So I've got my first question.
All right.
Who gave their life? I rolled 1 and 1, so it was the most one that kicking off with the snake eyes is a good vibe. It's an exciting energy. Who gave their life for you to escape? I had a partner in crime. We were a duo. We were a pair of bank robbers. And as we were on the run, I kept running and he didn't.
All
so
right.
It was my partner in crime died. I didn't have time to look and confirm if it was like I didn't have time or inclination to go back and look and confirm whether it was a conscious decision to stop running or if something stopped him from running and I just followed the advice of how you get away from a bear.
You ran faster. All right. I rolled a 3 and a 4. So my question is, where do you hide the head that speaks to you?
That's a good question.
Breaking out the box of the box of grounded reality a little bit here. I'm gonna say that my character carries a briefcase with him everywhere he goes, and there is a head in that briefcase that speaks to me.
I think so. My next question is 3. No, it's 2 3s. My next question is 2 3. What happened to your child? That's a good question. What happened to your child? You know what? I'm gonna throw a big answer here. I am going to say, because this is a fun twist, especially with the last answer that I gave. They took the money and never looked back.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
I'm thinking this through. Like, obviously, you know, the initial thought is like something horrible happened to your child and that you're like running from that or dealing with it. The idea that I was a bank robber, I gave my child of whatever age a gigantic sum of ill-gotten gains, and they just took that money and did not like question it, and now there's just somewhere there's my child with a healthy amount of money that like has not considered their parent that gave them that money since then is very compelling to
I
me.
like that. Yeah, I love any twist that isn't just gruesome dark and is like socially dark. Big into that. Super cool. My second question here is, why were you planning to leave Paradise before it came? So It, the Unknown Horror, arrived somewhat recently, and we can establish that together. But why was I planning to leave? I'm going to say that the head that is in my briefcase that speaks to me is my, let's say, tell me what you think about this. Maybe I was also working for some sort of crime situation. And my partner tried to turn on me, and so there was a scuffle. He died. I'm not sure if it was on purpose or not. We'll figure that out later. But I was planning to leave because I've got the rest of my gang chasing me down.
That's good. I like that. I really like that.
And his head is in my briefcase. It speaks to me.
That's good. That's fun. I like that. So my next question, I already rolled Snake Eyes and now I've rolled Boxcars.
There
so I
you
got
go.
6-6. How do you intend to convince it to let you live? I'm willing to strike a deal. I'm willing to do the work. I am willing to take on a job. I am willing to offer myself in service. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I was not even the brains of my particular operation, I think is what I'm going to say.
Okay.
I was not the brains of this particular bank robbing duo. I was the muscle, the gun, the particularly intimidating looking guy that stands behind the brains of the operation. I am more than willing to be a lackey. If I need to be if it is looking for a lackey, I'm your guy.
You are the ultimate henchman.
Yeah, I'm perfectly willing. Being a Renfield is not a bad I do not perceive that as a bad outcome once this thing starts pursuing us.
All right. And so that's your third and final question. My third and final question. I got myself double 4s here. So when will you finally tell the others your secret? And my answer is when it gives me leverage. I will tell my secret about, presumably, the gang that is chasing me down for killing my a gang member whose head is in my briefcase. If I can ever get some leverage out of that secret, it'll come up.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And my character's name, since we gotta get some names here, is going to be Otis Coleman.
My name is Frisco McDougan.
Frisco McDougan. I love that. All right, Frisco. So, now we've got some characters. We've got Frisco McDougan and Otis Coleman. A couple of crooks on the run from various circumstances. Presumably, we might not even be from Paradise. You can decide if Frisco's from Paradise, Colorado yourself. But I think Otis Coleman was just passing through or like stopped in with his crew for a job when the scuffle went down. So I'm just a bystander of a circumstance here.
I think Frisco is from Paradise, and I think that like my child is also from Paradise.
Okay.
I think that handoff like just happened, right? Like I took my earnings, I took my partner's earnings, I took both of our bags of money. I handed it to my kid, and I think maybe it was a thing where I was going to maybe I was on my way out of town when things broke out, and I kind of ended up held up in this safe house.
Okay. Yeah, so you were planning to leave because your family's from here and your kid left. I was passing through, and it was a bad time, and I was trying to get out. So now, so now what we're gonna do before we actually get started here is to establish a starting safe house. So I've got some list of landmarks in Paradise, Colorado. We can also just decide between ourselves where from the list, or we can roll on it, or we can make up a different location that exists in the town and that we are kind of holed up because presumably it is out there. That is the one truth we know about it at this point. And we are holed up in this safe house. It is the only place that we've been safe for a couple of days now. So do you want to roll on that table there?
Yeah. Give me 2d6. That is a 6 and a 5. That is Miss Patricia's Saloon.
We are in Miss Patricia's Saloon, a classic Wild West setting. We're hung out in Miss Patricia's Saloon. We are, at this point at least, the two survivors holding up here. And so now let's just kind of go over how the game works before we get started here. So what's going to happen? The game takes place over the course of scenes. For this, we're gonna do the classic. Each of us is going to be the dealer for 2 scenes, which should be of appropriate timing for our show here. So what happens is we'll each get dealt 3 cards. Normally you get dealt 2 cards, but for 2 players that mathematically does not work out. So we're gonna get dealt 3 cards each, and then there will be a flop. So in the tradition of Texas Hold'em, you'll flop 3 cards out in the center of the table, and those are going to inform the tone and stakes and establishing details of the scene for the initial trouble. So those cards represent big capital T trouble of the scene. Each one vaguely represents something that is an obstacle our characters are going to have to overcome. And we will be playing cards from our hands that are a greater value than those the cards in the community cards in the center of the table, in order to overcome the obstacles. That is the conflict resolution mechanic of the game. You can combine 2 number cards of the same suit to get a higher number. So you can combine like a 2 and a 3 of hearts to beat a 4 or beat a 5. And you can play any cards from your hands. We can combine, like, work together. I can say I have a heart, or you shouldn't say like specifically the number value, but like I've pretty big emotions about this because hearts represent emotions or humanity or empathy, people or life in a scene. So we can kind of combine cards in our hands that way to overcome stuff. But otherwise, if the scene kind of once we got the flop and the scene is set up, we will establish blinds. You and I will each do 1 blind, which is just an extra detail that's not mechanically represented at all. We just add like a little twist to the scene each, and then we will play cards. And once the scene's kind of hit a lull, once we're not really adding anything, the narrative is kind of slowed down, the dealer will flip 1 more card. That's called the turn. And that adds an additional trouble to the scene. And then once things kind of die down again, the dealer will add a 5th card, the River, which adds a 5th trouble to the scene. And once we have played all our cards that we can or think we want to, once the dealer has decided the scene is over, the scene ends. The dealer adds a detail to it by rolling on a table in the back of the book or making up some sort of detail. We'll slowly uncover what it is through evocative nonsense that gets added to the unknown horror. And then we go to the next scene. And we do that 4 times. And at the end of the game, there will be one final scene with an epilogue for each of our characters. That epilogue will have a character die for every community card that has been left unresolved in the center of the table. In a 2-player game that is pretty rough, there's a good chance both of us just die here. But if there's only one unresolved trouble, the other person, or the person who survives, will be determined by who has the best scoring poker hand, with cards left in their hand and the card in the community card. So you score your poker hands to see who wins there. All right, so just to quickly go over what the cards mean, the different suits all have a vibe associated with them. Clubs represent violence, physicality, or vigor. It's always some sort of force or physical presence in the world. Spades represent thought, fear, or problem solving. It's more mental, psychological, or supernatural aspects of the story. Hearts represent humanity, empathy, or life. Like I said, they tend to represent people or animals or human emotion. A lot of times if a heart hits the table, it's because you're talking it out or a new person shows up. An NPC shows up and we have to deal with them. And diamonds represent wealth, assets, or tools. Usually when you play a diamonds, you are using an object that exists to solve a problem, or an object shows up that is a problem. Number cards are just a card. It is just something with those suits on a scale. You kind of vibe between 2 and 10. Lower value means it's not very significant. Higher value means it's more complex or more difficult. Ace cards are sort of critical successes or critical insurmountable problems. If there is an ace in the community cards, the only way we can deal with that is by folding and discarding 3 of our cards from our hand to overcome that obstacle, or playing another ace on top of it. And then face cards are it showing up in some way. So if you are if a face card is in the community cards, then the jack will mean it is indirectly adding something new to the scene. A queen means that it is indirectly bringing something up from our backstories. So if a queen showed up, it might be the talking head in my briefcase, or your child, or some sort of thing that already is a part of the scene turns out to be a problem. And kings are it directly interfering with our scene. And we can reference that as we play. But those are the basics. You can always fold 3 cards from your hand to resolve any card in the lineup. Any questions, Jeff?
Nope, that makes perfect sense. I think it makes perfect sense to me. So I think let's go through the first scene. If you'd be all right taking the dealer to walk us through it, I think that we should be ready to dive right in.
Absolutely. All right. So I am the first dealer. So what we're going to do here is I will deal 3 cards to me. All right. So now we will flop 3 cards. And I will basically set the scene with the starting trouble. So we've got a 9 of diamonds, a jack of clubs, and a 4 of clubs. So a lot of clubs usually means that it's physical or violent or something very physically dangerous. and a 9 is or the diamond is an item of some kind. So what I'm gonna say here is that we're gonna say that our saloon here, we're hung out in Miss Patricia's saloon, and the opening scene is, I think Otis and Frisco are hanging out in the saloon, just waiting for things to blow over or something to change so that we can get out, when a fire breaks out in the like from behind the bar. The liquor started on fire. And that fire is rapidly spreading and destroying all of the food and supplies that we have behind the bar. So now our characters are in the scene. We start either zoomed in, like first-person roleplay or narrative tools discussing what's happening. And you add a detail, just a twist of some kind. And then I add a detail or twist of some kind before we start playing cards. And then we start playing cards and trying to overcome these problems.
My detail is just to ramp up the horror. I think it's not just that we are in Miss Patricia's saloon. We are boarded up in Miss Patricia's saloon. All of the windows have been boarded up. The doorway is barred and secured. We have taken the I don't know when jukeboxes were invented, but I imagine an old-timey jukebox. We've taken the old-timey...
It's a self-playing piano.
Yeah, we've pushed the self-playing piano in front of the front door to fully bar it off. Like, we have walled ourselves in here, which means that the smoke... Which means that the fire is not only burning, like... There is very little ventilation, and that smoke is filling up the room very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we don't have a way out because we'd have to start tearing walls down. And I think the second blind is going to be that the fire is not. It doesn't look natural. I'm gonna add a little bit of supernatural in here to get us started. I think the fire is like purple. It's like a weird color, and we can tell that it is not just like, oh, a fire started. That something has caused this that is not from this world. So Otis is looking around. Frisco, I don't know. We got ourselves in quite the predicament here.
Frisco is pacing and mumbling and like fiddling with his gun, but like not particular, like on his waist, but not particularly effectively, and is like chewing his lower lip and is just mumbling like, I don't know. I don't know what we can do here. I don't got it. I don't got this. I don't got it. Fire.
Otis is gonna, like think on his feet quickly to try to deal with some of the problem here. So if we look at our lineup here, we've got the 9 of diamonds, the jack of clubs, and the 4 of clubs. The 4 in clubs and the jack of clubs kind of vaguely representing the fire in some way. I imagine the jack being the supernatural aspects, and the 9 of diamonds being the liquor and wood that is actively burning right now. So thinking on his feet, Otis is going to run over to the like what I assume there's some sort of like water jug where we can get water from that we've been getting our water, and just starts pouring it on the fire, trying to put it out. Not necessarily dealing with the whole problem, but is definitely like slowing the fire down. And looking over at Frisco, we got to do something. Can you do anything here?
I can gather up them bottles. I can gather up that wood. I'm gonna need help, but I can do most of it.
You can do stuff like you
I can do most of it. Or and I think for a long time, like, he stares at that fire. Or I can buy us some time with this fire.
Okay. You've got wood. You can like gather stuff up. Are we gathering items?
I can get. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not doing great right now, and I'm not gonna be able to gather up everything on my own. But I can do most of it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna need you to work with me here. If we gather up wood.
Okay. So.
And then we would just have to deal with that.
All right. We can work together. So we're gonna both play a card. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down here. Teamwork.
Can I play multiple cards?
Yeah, you can play multiple cards if they're matching.
Great, because I'm going to play all three of my cards.
Okay. Oh, look at that.
Because I had I had the 2 of hearts, the 2 of clubs, and the 3 of clubs.
Okay, so yeah.
So the 2 and the 3 of clubs are like representative of violence or physical action. So like it is a lot of like dragging crates of alcohol into a back room away from the fire.
Okay.
The 2 of hearts, I think, also just represents like the baseline of like saying, hey, I'm not doing great and I'm asking for help.
Yeah.
Like it is a sense of like, I can do most of the work. I can do this. But you gotta work with me here and tell me what I'm doing, or else I'm not gonna be able to get all these boxes into the back.
Yeah, and my 6 of hearts here is like the just Otis kind of realizing that that this guy, my partner that I'm stuck with for better or worse, needs help, and so we're gonna help out and get this taken care of. So we play these cards on top of a particular card to overcome it. We're left with a Jack of Clubs here, which I don't think either of us can deal with, so I'm going to do the turn here. Get us another...
All right.
Oh, no!
That's not good. That's very bad. That's markedly bad.
Aces are notably bad. Okay, so we have an Ace of Spades. So I think spades represent thought or fear, supernatural things, or like a perspective of reality kind of morphine. And I think this particular Ace of Spades is, like, the smoke has filled the building in such a way that we cannot see more than, like, a couple of inches in front of us. We, like, the building is on fire in a way where we are no longer able to navigate normally. It is a hidden space. And you played all 3 of your cards, correct? All right, so I'm going to just flip the next card as well. See what we got here. All right, and a 2 of spades. A 2 of spades, I think that, because it's such a low number and super, super achievable, is going to be just kind of like the sound, the overwhelming sound of the fire is also just kind of drowning out our ability to think properly, and is drowning out the like any sound or communication we're not really able to deal with over the sound of the fire.
Right.
So it's just a loud room full of burning fire. The fire's spreading out of control, almost exclusively supernaturally at this point. We have gathered up wood and like kind of contained it, but there's still some sort of supernatural force that is this Jack of Clubs right here that is perpetuating the fire, and the Ace of Spades is just the fog and the smoke filling the room, and the 2 of Spades is the sounds. Since you don't have...
So it is just a complete sensory overload surrounding us of the sound and the smoke and the sense that there is like a presence beyond mortal, like in the room with us.
Right. There is something here, and it is burning this place to the ground with us in it. And this is a great time because we've got 3 unresolved trouble cards here. So what we do is we gather up all the cards that were resolved, we're going to sweep them to the side here. Get rid of them. And put them over here. Those are from the last scene, and then before we start the new scene, and I pass the tools over to you as the dealer chip, I will add a detail to it. So right now, all we know is that it is out there. I'm gonna roll on this table here. I'm gonna say, oh, here, this is great, very evocative. Love this table. I got a 6 and a 1. So the detail that we are going to add to it is it takes the form of its victims. And so that is just something we can bring up later as we play. But in the meantime,
I take over the dealer card, so I'm going to draw myself 3 cards.
Oh, yeah.
So draw yourself 3 cards, and then I will lay down our trouble.
All right. Flip.
We have the 6 of clubs. We have the Queen of Hearts, and we have the 10 of diamonds. So the 6 of clubs are physical threats. I think that this is the structure around us, because this is a modestly sized card. Like, the structure of the actual saloon is crumbling around us. We maybe have like cornered ourselves into like a back storeroom with all of the liquor that we've been able to preserve, but like the space that we're in is closing in around us. Queens, which represent the indirect trouble from the inside. Something that is here all along is revealed to be a threat, or the character's past comes back to haunt them. I think we start to see, this is a queen. This is something from our past.
It's also
is
a heart, so it's a
heart, which is like emotional
or people. It could be your kid or my head.
I'm thinking this is the head in the briefcase. This is voices. This is the head in the briefcase is starting to like tell us that it's starting to like taunt us. We're both hearing the head in the briefcase. You know, we're seeing glimpses of, pulling himself over the bar is like the half submerged in water body of my old crime partner. Like, we're getting flashes and glimpses of the people that we have wronged and the victims of it in some capacity, like coming back to taunt us. And then 10, which is like a physical object and is a 10, so is like difficult to overcome. I think this is probably, what do I think 10 represents? We're in a fire. We were so focused on securing like the flammable objects that we did not grab any of we grabbed all of the immediate flammable objects, but we overlooked something. There is a stash of guns and ammo. Patricia protects her saloon. There's like a stash of guns and bullets that like is viable to go the fuck up in flames if we do not do something about it.
All right. Yeah, I like that. All right. So I have a detail that I get to add, a blind, and then you would add a blind before we start playing cards. Otis is kind of in a panic. What with the with the smoke and the visions of our past victims. I pull the head out of my briefcase and show it to Frisco. Just, hey, we're probably not gonna make it out of here, but I think he's got something to say. And the head in my briefcase just kind of whispers to us, something about like there is a key behind the bar.
The detail that I want to add is, I think we'll flesh this out what it means for it later. There are bite and scratch like on the body of my old crime partner as we see him kind of like pulling himself from like a bar around a corner, and like visibly now on the head that maybe you've never inspected before, there are bite and scratch marks. Like there's the signs of physical injury on the various victims of it that like maybe wasn't there in our memory. Maybe we've never noticed before. Like it is enacting a physical harm onto these bodies in a very metaphysical sense.
And these victims of both our past and it does. This is one of those moments I like in The Last Hand where is it us all along? All right.
So now we start resolving cards. I think this is a safety check-in. How are you safety check-in in terms of like content descriptions? How are you with splatter descriptions?
I'm absolutely fine with absolutely. As long as it's not like pets and animals, absolutely.
Okay, great. Cuz I think that there's like an immediate reaction of like the head starts talking. And for as much as he was freaked out before, for as much as he has been a stuttering mess this entire time, there is no hesitation when I shoot that head between the eyes and it explodes in a big bloody mess across the room.
All right. My head. You should shoot the head.
The second the head starts whispering to me, I'm shooting that head between the eyes. I have played the King of Hearts.
All right. Oh, Frisco. I guess that's one way to deal with it.
And so what happens when I play? I've played the King of Clubs. The clubs is violence. It is brutality. It is shooting a head between the eyes and exploding it.
Yep. So when we play face cards, they get rid of that trouble that you covered, and then we flip another trouble to replace it.
All right. So we're gonna flip a trouble to replace it, and this is the 9 of spades.
All right. And then you describe basically how your actions caused further complications to the scene.
Spades represent thought, fear, or problem solving. As troubles, they kind of represent shifts in perception, puzzles, locks. This is there is very literally a key to a lock. Like this is a very literal puzzle scenario of like there's a key to a lock. We don't know what that lock unlocks, and we don't know where to find the key. But like, there's a key that we can unlock.
All right, yeah, I like it. Otis is gonna kind of like look around into the smoke. Not sure what all we're gonna be able to do here about that smoke, but he just runs over to a he's going to, what am I doing here? I am the jack. This jack right here represents, this represents the actual fire. Yep. So Otis here is going to run over to the fire, with just like the rug that was on the ground this whole time. I was like lying on the ground after the gunshot, heard the gunshot, hit the ground, face in the carpet, has a bright idea. We're gonna cover up that jack there with my own jack and a 3, and drag a rug over it and put out the fire. So now there is no longer the fire happening. The room's still full of smoke. We should probably open a window of some kind. And then because I played a jack, oh no,
that's not good. That's bad.
It's the worst. I was anecdote. I was doing a demo of this at my local game shop, and every single game of it, people were hitting aces and jokers left and right. Jokers even worse than aces. So yeah, I put out the fire, but an ace of clubs. I think the ace of clubs is going to be I think Otis's clothes catch on fire. I think that's what that is. The fire goes out largely in the building, but in the attempt to put it out, Otis's boot, Otis's pants, the fire starts spreading on him, which helps, which isn't necessarily better, but it did change the problem.
It did change the problem pretty significantly. Now you're
now
on
I'm
fire.
on fire. In the panic, what does this 6 of clubs represent again, Jeff?
6 of clubs represents there is structural damage to the saloon itself.
Right. Okay. I think the structural damage to the saloon itself is something that Otis can deal with here. Or does Frisco have any bright ideas?
I'm eyeballing. I am looking at the fire on you, and I'm looking at the fire, like the perception of the smoke and sort of the warp. I'm looking at these two I think Frisco, going back to the idea that Frisco is. I think Frisco's going to deal with gonna make some very, very big decisions very, very imminently. Right. Is it my turn to play some cards?
You can play cards whenever you want. You play cards as the narrative goes. Play a card.
I'm debating. I think Frisco is like walking back and forth and keeps eyeing this fire and keeps thinking to himself like it's asking for something. Right. Like it wants us, but I keep wandering back and forth, debating if maybe it's time to strike a deal.
You're also the dealer, so if you want to move the story forward before Frisco does anything, you can do the turn.
Let's do that. We've got the 3 of spades. Pretty manageable. Thought, fear, problem solving. There's the ace of clubs, which is that you are on fire, right. And I think there's a degree of panic that comes from that, and panic will kill us in time.
This 3 of clubs is our heart rate. This is the anxiety and stress from the situation. All right. What are you? Is Frisco gonna do anything? You want to do something before I make some decisions here?
I think it's time for both of us to make some decisions here, because I think I know what Frisco's gonna do.
Let's see what Frisco does.
Frisco's folding.
Oh yeah.
I am gonna fold. Okay. I am taking both of my cards. I've got a 6 of diamonds and a 5 of clubs. So when you fold, you overcome any card, including an ace, and you describe how you get badly injured, traumatized, putting yourself directly in harm's way. Frisco is falling back on what I said I was going to do to survive it. And addressing the ace of spades, specifically sort of the mental aspect of this. I am striking a deal. Look, I am offering this. You've taken one of us. You've got your fire on one of us. Let me walk away.
All right.
And this can all, like, I think is actively talking through this, and I think that the trauma, injury, etc. is a warping of not a warping of perception, but like it is the deal being manifest.
Some sort of mental debt that you have given yourself.
I'm going to say, like, it is specifically a heel turn, for lack of a better way to put it. It is the inner bastard coming out and the inner lackey coming out of like, that's fine. We're not together. You can, if you need to claim a victim here, you can claim a victim, and I will do what it takes to facilitate that.
All right. I think what Otis is gonna do when he's actively on fire, like in a panic, trying to deal with that situation, he's definitely gonna see you, give you the most just death glare, and just charge one of the like doors that we've got boarded up here, and just kind of barrel headlong through it. And I think a little twist on the situation, using my 7 of clubs, I'm going to force my way through the door. I'm playing it on the 6 of clubs, which represents the structural integrity of the building. I don't think Otis is really addressing the structural integrity of the building as much as he is addressing the fact that we are stuck inside this building.
That feels good. Good.
He just clobbers his way out, and
And I believe I think as you push your way out, I'm playing the Queen of Clubs.
Good.
Something from your past. This is a queen, so this is something from your past. This is a very physical presence. Hey, remember how you had a head in a briefcase?
Yeah, you shot.
Yeah, you know the thing about heads is that usually that's not all there is of a person.
Oh no.
There is pointing a rifle at you, the headless body. Like there's a headless, your old partner's headless body is pointing a rifle at you.
I'm lying on the ground outside of this building on fire. Cool. It's a bad situation.
It's a bad situation.
Oh man, I love how it taking the form of its victims has manifested. This is great. This is good. It's good use of narrative tools.
Do you have anything that you want to throw in this moment?
I think I'm going to save my last card to see if I can do anything with it later.
Okay, so then I'm going to add a detail to it.
Yep.
I've rolled a 5 and a 2. It wants the cure.
It wants the cure.
It wants the cure.
All right.
So now we have 5 cards. We have 5 cards in front of us. We have the two of spades, which is
kind of the volume of the situation, just the loud, the cacophony of panic.
We have the 3 of spades, so it's loud. Right. We're panicking. Yeah. We have the 10 of diamonds, which is that there is still a large amount of guns and explosives in this building. You are on fire, as represented by the Ace of Clubs, and there is a headless ghoul pointing a rifle at you, standing directly over you.
You know, everybody's favorite weekend vacation. All right.
It's going
All
great.
Right, so now I'm the dealer, so let's draw our 3 cards. And then I will do the flop.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's a joker.
This is all bad. This is bad all the way down.
The way a joker works, when it's played in the community cards as trouble like this, is we each choose a card from our hand to play instead of the joker. So And then we narrate what, bad thing happens to our character. Or what that card represents. So I'm adding this 3 of hearts from my hand.
And I'm trying to decide, I'm going to add, this is not great. I drew this.
Very bad.
I was really hoping to be able to use these cards because it would have been great. I'm throwing down the 8 of clubs.
All right. So my 3 of hearts, I think, is just the a hesitation to do harm to my partner. It is like an empathy that Otis feels, even though he did kill. I think this is the moment I'm deciding Otis accidentally killed his partner. Mm-hmm. That was an accident. He felt nothing but remorse for that. And this seeing the headless, ghoulish form, even though it is a monstrous, violent, just not actually his partner. There is a hesitation that must be overcome in some way.
And the 8 of clubs, it is something physical. It is something violent. This represents my old partner is still around, and I think has pulled himself. Has fully revealed himself, has sort of pulled himself up from the proverbial, pulled himself out of the smoke. There's half a body here. It's been ripped apart. It's been ripped in half at the midsection, which is not something that I knew when I last saw him. But has grabbed Frisco by the ankles and pulled him to the ground and has climbed on top and is strangling Frisco.
Oh, good. Good. So you are in a physical altercation with your partner, and I have a rifle pointed at you by mine. It's a good time. All right, so the other cards here, the King of Diamonds and the 7 of Diamonds that got played normally. Diamonds are wealth, assets, or tools. They're things. They're physical things. Kings are it directly here. So I'm going to say the king is so if the Queen of Spades is my partner pointing a gun at me, the king of diamonds is your partner. There. It takes the form of its victims. It is taking the form of your partner and is fighting you.
And so the eight represents there are hands on my throat.
Right, correct. The 8 is the moment we're in. The king is that it in general. And the 7 of diamonds, I'm going to say the 7 of diamonds is it has a holstered firearm.
Mm-hmm.
It could draw. It has not yet. But there is a Chekhov's gun in the scene there.
Yep.
All right. So now you would add some sort of detail if you want.
The detail that I want to add, I'm trying to think about like what I want the cure. I think we are hearing we're going big. We're going as big as we can possibly go here. This is a big ass moment. Leaning on it once the cure, we are hearing a chorus of the dead outside. There is cacophony, there are gunshots, there are chanting, there is pounding at the walls. This thing wants the cure for death.
So we've broken out into the streets of paradise from
I think the doors have started to be torn down. Mm-hmm. You can hear, and it's so loud, like you can hear it over the noise of the fire. You can hear the noise coming through the smoke in the same way those voices were. Mm-hmm. There is chanting and screaming. This thing is looking for the cure to death, and it is certain that it is going to find it through our dead bodies.
All right, great. Good time. So, what are we doing here? How are we dealing with this situation?
This is a real good question.
I think I can deal with... I think Otis is on fire. I think I'm living with that. I think that Otis is going to, just steal up, get over himself, and kind of have a moment where he recognizes that this is death. He looks around, he sees all the other dead singing in the streets, and realizes that this is not his partner anymore. So I play my 4 of hearts on the 3 of hearts. That was that hesitation.
And I think at that same time, taking perhaps a less emotional approach, Frisco is going to drive his thumbs into the eyes of his old partner.
Yeah.
Just full on, like, you got your hands around my throat. I'm dragging my thumbs. I'm thumbing your eyeballs until you release me. There is it screeches, it yells, it can feel pain, which is a great development for us. And just like hurls the body aside and clambers to his feet.
All right. I think Otis is going to head back now that he's steeled himself. He's gonna run inside, and we know that key. We have that key to something, and I think what that key is to the box holding on to those explosives.
Okay.
So he runs inside, unlocks that box, grabs ammo and gunpowder.
And we draw another card to replace that since
correct.
It was a queen?
Yep. That was a queen of... Oh, no.
How is it the Joker?
Always the Joker. All right, so the Joker gets played, which means we each play a card from our hand if we can.
That's not good.
That's not good.
I did have the queen.
I really want... Oh, no. All right. So we've got the explosives. I think my 7 of spades here is going to be something fear, problem-solving thought, supernatural. I think it is going to be the fire is put out at this point, but there is still a smolder, and I think that 7 of spades is us like being keenly aware of the explosives
Mm-hmm.
that we are in possession of and their proximity to the heat.
And the queen is I think the queen is the ghostly undead form of every other remaining member of your gang
All right.
that has all been taken by it, and you see them all just slashed and mangled and murdered, and they are now like walking in and just taking spots around the bar, grabbing seats, cracking bottles, and just kind of muttering as they kind of like sit among the smoke and mutter. It's gonna keep coming for us. It's gonna keep coming for you until you agree to walk into the fire. You're making this difficult on yourself.
Yeah, Otis is kind of like looking around at his crew, looks at the fire that's engulfing him, looks at you, Fresco, who agreed to join this beast,
Mm-hmm.
and then we flip the turn because I believe we haven't done that.
We
yet.
have 2 more cards to flip.
All right. It is. I think that King of Hearts is that crew as well,
Mhm.
right? We are surrounded by a horde of undead that are not like zombies in the traditional sense, but like specters of all of our past crews, my past crew at least. And then, do you have any other cards left in your hand there?
I have no cards left in my hand.
And then we'll just flip the next card too. It's a Jack of Hearts. I think
What a disastrous
just
play of cards.
All right, and Jack of Hearts, I think, is adding something new to the scene. I think the Jack of Hearts. I think all of that really. Those 3, the Jack of Hearts, the King of Hearts, together. That's 2 cards representing the same group of people that are sort of. Some of them are it taking form as its past victims, and some of them are just like shambling undead that are threatening the town. And I think with that, it is the end of the scene.
I believe it is, yes.
A really bad situation.
A really bad scene. Not a good moment for any of us.
It doesn't feel like we're getting out of this one alive. We had some rough card draws. So this will be the last scene before the last hand. So I'm gonna add a detail to it. I'm gonna say it. I got double 4s here. So it rots from within, which tracks on these kind of undead ghouls.
Yeah. That feels good.
It feels right. All right, draw 3 cards, and you can deal the last scene of the narrative.
Our final round of trouble is the 5 of Hearts, the 9 of Hearts, and the 4 of Diamonds. The 5 of Hearts, the 9 of Hearts are emotional. I think that this is 2 separate levels of hopelessness is what this is.
Mm-hmm.
This is, we are outnumbered and overgunned. There's no getting around that. Like, it is the 9 is the very real acknowledgement that there is a lot more of them and a lot more guns than there are of us. And so like, even if we want to get out of here, which Frisco might not. Even if we want to get out of here and Frisco might not, we're probably like, the odds are against us. And that 5, I think, represents that question of like, do we want to get out of here? Does Frisco want to get out of here? Like, Frisco was willing to strike a deal, but this is increasingly seeming like an entity that baby Frisco does not want to strike a deal with.
Yeah, we are overwhelmed.
And then that 4 represents, let's see, what's fairly easily overcomeable. 4 represents like a blocked entryway, I think is what it is. Like 4 represents that player piano that like has been, that like is still mostly in the way of the entrance, that if we can move that, at least we have a pathway out.
All right.
If we could outrun all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I think the twist I will add, my blind will be that all of the forms, all of the victims, the undead that are around us, all of these ghouls are speaking in unison when they speak. Voices come from all of the bodies.
And I think the detail that I want to add is that we are starting to see the gashes and scratch marks and bite marks on us, even if we are not feeling it.
Yeah.
It's this sort of ethereal spirit rot that we are feeling from within, this the evocation of it, and that is sort of like that hopelessness is allowing that presence to take hold.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, we are physically taking the form of its victims.
Now I'm looking at 13 cards in front of us, and I'm just trying to work through how we can best sort of get some of this off of the table.
We are not in a good situation. It doesn't look like we're getting out of this. We have been overwhelmed. I think if we're leaning forward narrative kickassery, which is where I'm leaning at this point, I think Otis kind of turns to Frisco, grabs him by the shoulders, and just sternly, like, focus. We can get out of here. We got this. We can absolutely do this. Just lying through his teeth with overconfidence. And I play a 10 of spades on that 9 of hearts, which represents that overwhelming fear of hopelessness.
I am playing the 8 of hearts over the 7 of spades to say, no, we can't. No, we can't. We're not getting out of this. But that don't mean that they have to walk out of this either.
We do have all that explosives.
We got a whole lot of dynamite, and they might have more guns than us, but we have a whole lot more dynamite. Assuming dynamite can kill this thing, which we don't know if it can, we at least have a lot more of it than they do.
Yeah, we can make sure that it never gets out of this town. And I think, yeah, so all these face cards are sort of various forms of it.
Yeah, this is the collective presence of it.
I think Otis is going to grab that 7 of diamonds. There is the firearm attached to my old partner's belt. Grabs it and walks it and kind of puts the gun, pulls back the hammer, and puts it right next to all the dynamite, that cache of explosives we unlocked.
And I think like strolling around, I'm strolling around. I think I watch you walk up to the thing of dynamite. I look you in the eyes like, hey friend, you got a quarter?
A quarter?
You got a quarter?
I don't have any.
If you got a quarter, I can at least make it go out here a little pleasantly.
All right.
That's a 2. I think I walk over, plug a quarter into the player piano, and shove it with all of my might towards, I grab your quarter, I pop it into the player piano, and I shove it full speed towards the ghouls so that it is just playing player piano music as it crashes towards the ghouls at full speed.
And we got that cinematic player piano ragtime music playing as the bomb. I pull the trigger on the gun, igniting the dynamite. And
I mean,
got anything else?
I do, but it will not. You know what? I'm gonna do it. Yeah, no, I can't. I can't use it on anything. There's nothing I can use this on. Remind me, what did we say this Jack of Hearts rep?
That Jack of Hearts is one of the many cards that represents all of the various ghouls and victims that it is populated the town with.
And to play a jack on top of it, I would have to play a second card to beat it.
Yeah. So you have to be higher then.
Okay. Well, then here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fold.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna fold, and I'm gonna take out this king. I think I grab. You know what? The queen is my old partner.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be so bold as to take out the queen. I'm gonna fold, which would be playing this jack. I'm gonna throw these away. I deal with the queen. I, as the player piano is hurtling towards the ghouls, grab my old partner and throw us full on into the, I grab us and hurl us into the mass of ghouls with the bombs and the player piano to be like, at least I know that the one that I didn't like didn't make it out of here. I always hated your ass, and I'm glad that I left you behind.
All right. Yeah. So then do you got anything else?
That's my last card, and that's why I was like, I can't play this anywhere, so I may as well.
All right, so so that's the end of that scene. You can roll to add a detail to it.
That is a 5. I rolled 5 and 2 again, so we're gonna invert that to a 2 and a 5. Hey, guess what? It reeks of smoke.
Accurate.
Fair.
Oh. All right, so then we have one last scene. It's called The Last Hand, and this is just when our characters have their epilogues. Now, we can look at this board state. We can see that there are more unresolved trouble cards than there are surviving player characters.
You don't say.
So both our characters die in their epilogues. So we take turns just describing our character's fate, and I think Otis, at the sound of the ragtime, you charging off on the player piano into the street, pulls the trigger on the gun, igniting the explosives, and just has that brief half a second before being eviscerated by the explosion. And that is his end.
And for my epilogue, my end, obviously I also die in the player piano explosion. There's that moment of I always hated your ass. But the epilogue that I want to end on, the final beat of our game, we cut to a train car. It is a very nice train car. It is the dining car of a very nice passenger train. A fairly well-dressed young adult, he's 19, 20, is sitting on it, has ordered a very nice meal. We see a lot of opulent wealth at play here. Tips the server very well. And suddenly her train screeches to a halt, and there is this moment of intense annoyance as she stands up excuse me, I am in a hurry. Why are we stopping? And she looks out the window, and there is just a wide line of not just scarred and bitten, but also partially exploded and eviscerated ghostly train car robbers. And walking onto the train, sitting calmly in front of her and grabbing a piece of food, and the overwhelming stench of smoke in the air. Well, hey there, darling. My friends and I want to talk to you about a deal that we're working on.
Yes. I love it.
That's game. That ruled. That was great.
Just kick ass. I love bringing back the kid with all the money. That's good.
A good beat to end on.
Good beat to end on.
I feel good about that. That was fun. Did you have a good time?
I had a good time. Yeah, I liked it. This was a testament. This is the second time I've played 2-player The Last Hand, and I've heard from other people that it is rough. And my first time, it was fine. We actually had somebody survive. This was brutal.
Admittedly, we drew the worst cards that we could consistently. Every step of the way, we drew the single worst card that we could.
Yeah, the thing about The Last Hand, I definitely every game is completely different. That deck of cards, that's all. There's a lot of variance in a deck of playing cards.
That was great. What was your favorite moment from the game?
My favorite moment, I really liked, as players, both of us having the moment where we didn't say it out loud, but both of us kind of realized this was going towards, we're gonna both die here and we're gonna blow this up.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed, and one of my favorite things about The Last Hand, and one of the things I liked about our playthrough here, was tying in the details from it into the stuff that's already happening. Mm-hmm. So getting, like, I loved adding the twist of the partners and the head I had in my briefcase being tied into, well, that's it taking the form of its victims and it kind of spiraling out of control. I enjoyed that a lot.
I did. I really, really liked that. I really loved the twist in perspective that I think, like, that was very much a player perspective mirroring the character perspective of, like, Frisco being like, cool, okay, this seems like you're gonna try and kill my friend. That's fine. I'm cool with that. But then going like, no, actually, this seems way worse. It seems way better for me to die here than to walk away. I think I'm gonna not do that, and I'd rather die on my own terms, and then still kind of ending up in the horrible Renfield situation.
Yeah,
pretty great.
It's good. Yeah, I love that.
This game was fantastic. This sort, like, the mounting horror of this game, of, like, seeing the cards and seeing your very dwindling resources and trying to be like, okay, I can at least check off, like, the fact that we ended with a 2 and a 3 is just very funny.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about The Last Hand and the way it does that play to lose horror is it kind of builds that tension. You can, like, feel the overwhelming tension of the horror spiraling out of control mechanically. Like, it's not something a GM has to prep or plan for. The mechanics kind of force you into that rise and fall of tension. As problems arise, you solve them. Problems arise, it becomes more and more overwhelming. If I don't know if you've seen what horror movies you've seen or are familiar with, but one of the movies that I watched and I was like, this feels like a Last Hand game, was The Ritual, which is really good. It's and honestly, I designed this game a bit ashamedly after watching Bird Box.
Okay,
I watched
sure.
Bird Box and I was like, okay, yeah. I like the energy of just, like, there is some sort of horror and we're going to find out more about what that is without really getting the details and the full picture of it.
It's a good vibe. It's just a really good vibe. This game ruled. I'm really happy with it. Thank you so much for joining me and playing this game. This was incredible.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks for playing. I'm glad you had fun. There's a bunch of other settings as well, and you don't have to play it in this setting. You can set it in your own town. During a demo I did, there was a group of players who set it in our hometown and had a zombie apocalypse happening, and I kept hearing words like corpse tornado from that table.
That's good. That's
slaps.
That's an immediate good energy.
Yeah, they were having a good time. So I'm glad you had fun.
Thanks
for having me on.
Of course. So real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you, your work, and the game online?
Yeah, so you can find me on most places as Airborne Ham, at Airborne Ham on various social medias. I don't use Twitter much these days. I'm not really active on a lot of places.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, I used to be. I was a lot more frequent, but it's a little bit rough.
What, did something happen?
Something. The culture changed, you know?
Fair.
But you can find my games on airborneham.itch.io. You can go to my website, airborneham.games, which has a link to a store where you can buy a physical copy if you want. Airborne Ham is the tag.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for playing this with me. This was an incredible experience. I am so happy. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Eric for coming onto the show. That game was just cool. Like, it was scary and weird and brutal. And it was just, the word I would use is just cool. It was a really fucking cool experience, and I am so grateful that we got to play it. Be sure to pick up your own copy of The Last Hand at airborneham.itch.io, and be sure to follow Eric on Twitter, as long as that's still a fucking website, at airborneham. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast, find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast, find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod, subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/partyofonepodcast, and join our Discord community at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano-Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And, unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.